we are going to look at this from a scientific angle. So let's look at the bigger picture here, shall we? Because there's a lot more than just comparing two videos with each other, okay? And newsflash, I fucking hate to break it to you, race does matter in this case, just like in nearly every other case. So if you care to stick around, you're very welcome to do so. If you found yourself in agreement to the video I stitched, meaning that Beyonce culturally appropriated from Gwen Verdon from 1969, sorry, then you may want to watch this. But just a disclaimer, you might get offended. But that's a you problem. So let's get right into it. First of all, I think we should look at the statement in itself, okay? Claiming that Beyonce, who by the way has a choreographer, right? Someone that does her choreographies for her. Sorry if I'm butchering that. I don't give a fuck. English is not my first language, okay? You get what I mean. Her dance steps. By the way, also, the Lady in the Down video from 1969 also did not create those dance steps, okay? She also had a choreographer, right? Who happened to be her husband. She was his third wife. You would have known that if you did some digging before posting this video, but you didn't, so I did it. So this entire dance steps, the choreography, was created by her husband, Bob Fosse. Okay? He was an American choreographer, dancer, filmmaker, and stage director. Nothing major, right? Wait. By the way, just a little tip on the side. Shaquille Knight is Beyonce's choreographer, right? He also created the choreography for this particular video. And this will matter in a second. And also, I found this entire setup also on IG, where somebody said the choreography for Single Ladies was inspired by the Mexican breakfast from Bob Fosse and the protagonist Gwen Verdon, who was Bob Fosse's wife, right? Keep that in mind. Here the proof again, Gwen Verdon, spouse. Okay, good. So let's dive into the existence or the origins of music for a second, because that does matter when you're talking about music. So, country music is a genre of American music that developed in the early 20th century, specifically in the blah, 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 blah. It origins of different types of folks, right? Appalachian folk, European, African folk traditions, jazz, and blues. So it's not just a particular way of dancing or of music. It's a combination of many things, okay? And how life is and how culture evolves and how, life and the way of life, the way we live life involves, it's always an influence of different types of things. And in many cases, the people that influenced to the existence of certain things go uncredited. That's no news. When it comes to the history of dancing, there are very, very early and ancient records of people dancing that date up to 8,000 years before the Common Era in India. There are also paintings, like you can see here, Egyptian tomb paintings that also depict dance in about 3,300 before the Common Era. And they might have been religious in nature, they might have been cultural. It is what it is. These records go back thousands of years ago. Now, mind you, I'm going to land my plane in a minute. And this is the part that might offend you, but I didn't make that science. I'm just repeating it, okay? So please, keep them white tears down, okay? So, and this matters, and I'm going to tell you in a minute why. So, there are different studies to this from various credible sources. So this is not just one page. You can do your own research if you wish. I know most of y'all don't. So humanity or humans began living in Africa 20 to 50,000 years ago, which then led, because of the lesser exposure to sunlight away from the equator, to a skin whitening mutation. Keep this word in mind. It's a skin whitening mutation that led to the adaptation of environment of people humans when they left the continent of Africa around 20 to 50,000 years ago. If you want, you can pause to read the rest. A team of international scientists have conducted a research at Harvard University, and that's research based on 83 human samples from Holocene Europe were analyzed, and is now found that the majority of the humans that lived in Europe, the people had dark skin, and the genes signifying light skin only appeared within the past 8,000 years. There are sources that say 10,000 years. There are sources that say 6,000 years. So anywhere between 6 and 8,000 years, 10,000 years, right? Yeah. Yet again, it is an adaptation. It happened. The genetic pool, I'm not a scientist, clearly. So it was a mutation that led to what we now ask Caucasians, aka white people. Okay. We will remember earlier when I spoke about how there are records of people dancing in ancient times dating back to 8,000 years before the Common Era, meaning the Common Era 2024 plus 8,000, around 10,000 years ago, right? Now we have learned that white people were only around 10,000 years ago. Wild, right? But I'm coming. Another angle that heavily matters in this entire debate is the fact that Black people have been not only influencing, but actively creating or contributing to the existence of literally every music genre available. At the same time, Black people make up only 13% of artists in the music industry. And this was a statistics. This is not just a guess, this is a statistics, right? You can pause to read the rest. But in a nutshell, Black people have carried the industry ever since it came into existence. And you cannot come on here and say, oh, Beyonce culturally appropriated from a white woman, when people that looked like Beyonce created these movements, created music in the first place, while the people you claim Beyonce culturally appropriated from were not even in existence yet. It's really not that hard, right? It's really not that hard. And the funny thing is, you claim that Beyonce culturally appropriated the ladies below when they too did not create those dance steps. And even Bob Fosse, that created the choreography to that, was inspired by Jack Cole, who is known as the father of theatrical dance in America, jazz dance in America, which we just learned that jazz dance was heavily influenced and created by Black people. So also Jack Cole, who happened to be an inspiration to Bob Fosse, who then created his choreography, was heavily influenced by Black people. 1 and 1 is 2. Are we there yet? In a nutshell, what I'm telling you, first of all, those dance steps were not cultural. Let's start there. This was not a cultural rite or a religious dance or anything that was known or used by a specific culture. For example, this was not an ancient German Bavarian dance that was then put into Beyonce's music video. That's not what happened. These were music steps that were influenced by jazz music, by a jazz music artist. Jazz music came from Black people. So even if you were to claim that Beyonce created or stole these steps, she, at the end of the day, stole from Black people. Because if you take Black people out of that picture, jazz music would not exist. Bob Fosse would have never had an inspiration. Jack Cole would have never had an inspiration. And they would have never been able to create those steps in the first place. A Black woman cannot culturally appropriate from a white woman because that white woman in question does not have culture. There, I said it. Okay? That does not mean that if she was Swedish, she wouldn't have Swedish culture. If she was a white Mexican woman, she wouldn't have white Mexican culture. I didn't say that. If she was a white woman from Germany, she would have German culture. If she was a white woman from Italy, she would have Italian culture. But that's not what you said. You said that Beyonce culturally appropriated from white ladies, and that is de facto wrong. So I hope that helps. Maybe next time do some research before you're trying to trash a Black woman over a white woman. That literally is the blueprint. Black women are the blueprint. No matter how much you twist and turn it, it is what it is. History is there. Society is there. Proofs is there. You just need to read. I hope this helped. If not, you problem again.